It is week 8 right here at the corner, College Football Corner with Fletch and Randy. Each week we are here bringing it to you the right way and the real way, keeping it real, unbiased college football analysts. That is us. So, Randy, how you doing?
Doing okay.
Well, what are you, as we normally do here, we'll kind of briefly talk about what we feel, how last week went. So, what are your takeaways from week 7?
Well, of course, you know, we had the Alabama game where they squeaked one out against South Carolina. That was pretty interesting the way they did the onside kick. They did it once with the original kicker. Bama recovered it, but they had called timeout, so they brought the punter in to do the onside kick, and he put a real spin on that ball, and they got the ball back, made it real interesting at the end. And then, of course, we had the Oregon Ohio State game. Uh, Very interesting game. To me, it was more like two heavyweights slugging it out. I was actually surprised with Oregon. I was surprised with the speed of Oregon. I thought it was a pretty tough game. I didn't realize that in Eugene, Oregon is a tough place to play. That crowd was crazy. But yeah, I mean that was a heck of a game, and I'm sure that's a game that we're going to see again, at least one more time, maybe more.
Yeah, it's one thing I took away from as far as the on Monday, just listening to the radio and stuff. It's amazing how in the college football, just in general, the world's on fire. Some Buckeye fans were just losing their mind that they lost a 1 point game, number 3 team in the nation, on the road in a hostile environment, and
Right.
had a chance to win in the end. College football, man, it's unpredictable sometimes. You never know what you're going to get. No
Hmm.
matter how good a team looks. Every time Alabama and Georgia hit the field, it's not 3-2 or 3-3 like the old days. It's shootout these days. That's how they make
Right.
this game. They want points, but yeah, I heard somebody call in about Texas in the call. A fan calling into the show saying how the world's on fire in Texas. I'm like, how can the world on fire be in Texas? They haven't lost a game, and they got two
Right.
quarterbacks that are going to the NFL. It's just funny how fans are. Fans are nuts and they're passionate. Most of them are fine, but it's the fringe idiots, the idiots if you call them, that just drive me crazy. So everybody wants to fire Ryan Day. Everybody wants to fire this, one game, and I'll be honest with you, my first takeaway from Ohio State, Oregon was Denzel Burke, who's supposed to be the best corner, and I'm sure he is the best corner. On that night, he did not have his best game. He got toasted pretty bad, but it's a team game, and some of those schemes, I watched a lot of film breakdown during the week. He's expecting a pass rush to do something by a certain time, so he's covering the quick route, thinking they're not going to have time to go deep. So it's all schemes and schematics and stuff, and not execution. So it was a heck of a game by Oregon and a heck of a game by Ohio State. Like you said, it
Yeah.
was a slugfest, and nobody knew who was going to win right down to the last minute. And they made a rule change with the timeouts and all this stuff, and
Hmm.
or 12 men on the field, and you know, for me, it's like it was a great game. If you don't like the situation that you ended up being in, don't put yourself in a situation. That's just how kind of football is.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it was. It all came down to clock management on that
right.
last play. People can say whatever they want, but you were talking about the cornerback for Ohio State, and any great player as far as that goes that we see. It's really all about. To me, it's really all about matchups. There is that guy out there that is going to do something. The way he runs, the way he turns, something that he does is just going to make a bad matchup for the greatest players in the country. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's just going to happen.
yeah.
90% of the time they're going to be good, but there is always that bad matchup. Now, the key thing there is you got to better realize that pretty quickly and change things up accordingly. Much kind of like what you said. But yeah, that was a heck of a game. I was really surprised from what I seen with Oregon earlier. I thought, yeah, Ohio State's going to go there and take care of business. I even said that last week. So,
Yep, yep,
yeah, I was really surprised. A couple times, Ohio State broke away, and Oregon always had somebody faster.
yep.
I was really surprised with Oregon. So, we can look forward to them playing again. Of course, I guess the championship game will still be in Indianapolis.
I think it is for at least a few more years. I think they're trying to work on getting that somewhere. I think Chicago or something like
Yeah, a little bit closer. But anyway, I mean, more of a home game for Ohio State. So,
yeah,
we can kind of figure that those are probably going to be the two teams we'll see. We don't know that for a fact, but
yeah.
yeah.
When looking at the totality of the season for Ohio State, they figured they could lose one game to one of the top teams, which was as it is now. We knew Oregon was probably going to be there. Penn State is undefeated. They're riding there with a big comeback from behind overtime win against USC last week.
Pulled one out of the butt on that one.
Yeah, and it's a big win, meaning they won a game on the road. It wasn't like they beat a crazy good team, and I'm not taking them from Penn State. I'm just saying when people say big win, sometimes you got to quantify what that means. But they're still ranked, and now they're ahead of Ohio State because they're undefeated. Of course, Oregon is too, and Nebraska's come flying around with one loss right now. They play, I think it might be is it tonight? No, it's not tonight. But they play at Indiana. And Indiana's an undefeated team. So there's a lot going on in the Big Ten. A lot of things are going to get a little bit more interesting after this weekend. So if Ohio State really needs to beat Penn State because of their ranking. When they play them, if they're so highly ranked and they lose that game, that's two high-ranked teams they've lost. That really hurts if they end up being some kind of tiebreaker with two losses, those two losses are really going to hurt them because they were really good teams. Even though it's good to lose to a good team, not too many of them, because you got to get a win against one of them teams, But
I mean, the fact that they're taking 12 teams, I think it's very, very possible a team with two losses is going to get into that tournament. Especially, say, hey, we have two losses to number 1 and number 3, or number 2 and number 5, whatever it may be. I would think that team's got a pretty good shot of still getting in that 11th, 12th spot.
I agree. And, the consensus now is that team, if there's a two-loss team that gets in, it's probably going to be from the SEC because of the number of teams that are already so ranked and so good. You look at Alabama, they've beaten Georgia, so that's a great win. And then they lost to Vanderbilt. So if they lose another game, but they win Tennessee, they could be a really good-looking two-loss team. A lot more so than maybe an Ohio State who lost to Penn State and Oregon, and didn't beat anybody. So the win really separates them. Probably not get a two-loss team out of the Big 12 unless it's the conference champion, because that league is beating each other up. Although they still got a few teams that are undefeated out there. So it really depends on how everything happens. It's a lot of great football left. So we're looking forward to. One thing I wanted to say, I watched the replay, in 1 hour replay of the Purdue-Illinois game.
Mm-hmm.
Purdue was down. Purdue had 3 points after halftime, at halftime, and Illinois had like 26. And then Purdue scored 46 points in the second half, and they had a 3-point lead with like a minute or so to go. Illinois was driving. They sacked Illinois' quarterback, and as he was going down, they stripped the ball. And then they went into replay and overturned it and kept it with Illinois. And on the replay, you can clearly see that ball is out. Purdue have recovered it. They could have ran out the clock. They should have won that game. They were robbed. So the officiating this year, that was one where officiating totally had to play. But nonetheless, Illinois is one of the games I wanted to talk about at some point. So when we get to, I think I got them on my list. But we'll start. I'm going from, I guess you would say, the least you'll see when we get it. Our first game is Oregon at Purdue. I have this on there because you're coming off a big win. You're traveling halfway across the country, and Purdue has 6 more top 5 upsets than any other team in college football. So they're walking into a buzzsaw. I'm not picking Purdue, make no mistake about it, but I will keep my eye on the score just to see. And it's tonight. It's like 8 o'clock tonight. This game is on, so it's one a lot of people might be able to watch because there's no competition much. But the spoiler makers, as they are known, they're bringing in Oregon after the big win over the Buckeyes. So this is a game. Obviously, most people are going to probably make Oregon take this game. They probably will, but you just never know. Especially with Purdue coming back into Illinois last week. Who knows? So.
Well, Purdue has had that little niche in their belt where they have knocked off some top teams, even when they weren't very good at all. So yeah, I mean,
and this year's no exception. I think I got one win or something.
So I mean, so looking at looking at it, you're exactly right. Coming across country and coming off a big win, but we'll I'm kind of like you. I'll take a glance at it every now and then.
Yeah,
If it starts to get interesting, I'll probably turn it on.
absolutely, man. I was like, hey, this is a blowout. No big deal. This game's tight in the third quarter. Okay, I'm going to tune in and see what happens because you never want to miss something like that.
Right.
So the next one is the Big 12. Now, this game, preseason, people were picking Oklahoma State. They're going to murder everybody in the Big 12. BYU is not even going to be. It's a complete opposite. Oklahoma State's got 3 losses, and BYU's undefeated. So who would have thunk it? And this is out in BYU. This is somewhat of an upset alert, only because BYU was so heavily favored over them. But Oklahoma State's never gotten their running game rolling like they did last year with Ollie Gordon. If they can find something and get it done, you never know. But obviously, BYU is heavily favored at home in this game, and it's really hard to see them not winning it. So
yeah, well, two of the biggest letdowns in college football so far that from the preseason polls and all that kind of stuff has been Oklahoma State and Utah. They were both they're gonna do this, gonna do that, and neither one of them have played or performed like a lot of people thought they would. So yeah, that's
absolutely. So here we got, for some people that don't know, was it 6 billion years ago? Michigan played Illinois, and Red Grange scored 6 touchdowns against Michigan in a game, and it was one of the greatest single individual statistic games of all time. The anniversary of that was yesterday, and they put a statue out in front of the stadium, I believe. And Illinois got, if you can catch the game tomorrow at 3:30, just look in on it. Illinois got special uniforms. They're Red Grange throwbacks from the leather helmet days, and they got their helmet painted to look like it's leather, and it looks sickly cool. So it's a really neat looking throwback uniform. So I'm going to peek in on this just to see how cool those uniforms look when they're playing with them, because the picture I saw was pretty sweet. So and Illinois, they're both in the 20s. They're ranked in the top 25, 23 and 21 or something like that. So they're both ranked, in the lower part. But this could be the nail in the coffin of Michigan season. Not that anybody really thinks they're going to be able to get to the playoff, but this could be the one that just beats it in submission, and probably will. So now we're getting into some meaty bones. Nebraska 1 loss going to IU, 0 losses. So what do you see with this one?
Well, I think this is going to be a real interesting game, and I think we kind of thought Nebraska would probably be on the upswing a little bit. I mean, Indiana's quite honestly has been quite a surprise. The way that they've played, but I mean this game right here looks like a really good matchup. That's one that we didn't see coming, but that's definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, IU hasn't really played any big teams, but everybody they've played, they've put wins in double digits, and they absolutely destroyed UCLA out in UCLA. I think they dropped 70 on them or something like that. Mm-hmm. So this is big time competition for them. They're at home. They got Dylan Raiola. He's a freshman who's looking pretty sweet. Their 1 loss was to the Illini. They did beat Colorado when they played them pretty badly. So, and then Nebraska will turn right around and come back to Ohio State next week. So they can't really sleep on IU, and why would they? So the Nebraska schedule is getting tougher, and so is IU's. I think IU has the worst schedule in FBS leading up to this point, and from here on, they got the 14th toughest schedule. So they got all their games ahead of them. Everything's in front of them. We'll see a lot about tonight. We'll learn tomorrow about how good these teams are and where they potentially could go for sure. The U and Louisville. I'm calling upset on this. Of course, I love to do that. So it's on the road. Yeah, and the U should have lost 2 already.
Well, that's true. That's true. The 2 teams that have really pulled some out late has been Miami and LSU. I mean, they both pulled some out at the last minute. So, I mean, it's not a bad call for on an upset with Louisville.
And I think this game's tonight. Is that right? Man, I got to go back to the schedule real quick. I thought there were two games tonight, and I think that game is tonight, which would be
tomorrow. Miami Louisville tomorrow at 12:00.
Okay, it's a noon game. Okay, it's okay. My bad. Either way, it'd be a little bit better if it was a night game for the home team. I think night games are always bring out the best/worst in fans. So But how many times can you dodge a bullet? We said that about TCU that one year, and they just kept dodging bullets left and right. So we'll see if the U's got another one in their tank, or if they're going to be in a dogfight with the Cardinals. Like I said, I'm calling upset on this one, so we'll see what happens. And this is one of the two big ones, the SEC double shot. First one, Alabama at Tennessee. With Tennessee, I think it was 2 weeks ago when their quarterback, kind of ran out of bounds, didn't give him a chance to kick a field goal against whoever they were with.
Against Arkansas.
I definitely see the tough game on the road, I think, for Alabama, but I feel Alabama's going to win this game. But weird things have happened as far as how they're going to win it. I don't know. I'm not 40-point lead or a 2-minute drill kick field goal. Who knows? But I'm going to take Alabama in this one.
Yeah, this one. It's been interesting the last couple of years. Tennessee had the big upset a couple of years ago, and then Alabama came back with the big win last year. And of course, Tennessee at home. That's a tough one, and Tennessee's kind of been up and down, much like Alabama has. But I was talking to a buddy of mine today, and I said, look, here's the thing that I don't think people realize. The media doesn't realize, because they keep saying, it's Alabama, it's Alabama. This is not the Alabama that we've seen the last 12 years. I mean, it's not. It's not as disciplined team. It's everything that they do is a little bit different. I mean, we all got spoiled with Saban because when he lost, like we said before, there was kind of a rhyme and a reason. They went for 2, something happened.
Kick 6, right? Yep.
Something came down to boil down that loss. I mean, you kind of see it. And this year, you're just kind of watching them and you're going, man, I don't know. I mean, do they even know that there's a thing called defense? But so. I just and you're not going to find a bigger Alabama fan, especially in this part of the country. But Moss tried to be realistic about it, and I'm a little concerned with Alabama. I don't know if they're going to find a way. I heard that they brought in a defensive analyst to kind of look at things the way that they're going. But I mean, Tennessee's got a great shot at winning this game. I actually jokingly. Told a friend of mine, I said, I'm watching Alabama and I've never seen this stuff before. They set the ball down, a guy goes up and kicks it, just things that are uncharacteristic that you never seen from Alabama. And, I told them they're a big Tennessee fan. I said, man, it's like Alabama turned into Tennessee. And, they were like, yeah, oh, wait a minute, But, I mean, Tennessee has had that kind of thug line on them the last couple of years, especially against Alabama. The guy running into the end zone, flipping everybody off, the bottles, the golf balls, Tennessee's has that history against them. So, but yeah, this is going to be a tough matchup. Turnovers, penalties. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it could be the intangibles that kind of tell the show. I think there's a lot of similarities with this team. Both quarterbacks are young. Milrose got a little bit more than Nico, however you say that last name. They both got dynamic receivers that are incredible, explosive offenses and defenses that, look good at sometimes and other times just scratching your head. But just about everybody's defense this year is like that, with maybe the exception of Texas. They haven't really been in big shootouts, but there's times when the Texas offense has been a little no big deal. So, but I was reading about that Ryan Williams receiver for Alabama. He classified last year early. He didn't turn 18 until February. He's still 17 years old.
Oh yeah, that's what they've been talking about.
In 39 games in high school, he scored 76 touchdowns. In 39 games, 4,400 yards from scrimmage, most of them catching, some running, one throwing touchdown, and like 4 kickoff or punt returns for TDs. The guy's incredible. I mean, he is an absolute game changer. I would definitely find a way to make sure he's touching the ball about 10, 11 times, if not more, because he does stuff that people don't see. Want to say hi, Emma?
Yeah. Hi, Randy.
Hi.
Hey, Dad.
Yes.
Are the Ghost hydration drinks ready to?
Not yet.
Yeah.
After the show, okay? All right, go on.
We're watching
I got
Hocus
stuck.
Pocus.
Okay, go. We're doing football. Okay.
You like the touch?
Frank,
Did
Right.
we're watching
you
Hocus
Gotta love-
Pocus.
Yeah, I know, kids. Okay, guys, come on.
like the chicken
And
We're watching Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
at least we keep family involved in our show.
Well, if they got more clicks, I'd be into it. But
Yeah.
okay, go.
Right. Yeah.
So they're watching Hocus Pocus. They want everybody to know that. So, but yeah, that dude's incredible. And so he is a video game player. I mean, as far as looking at him, that catch against Georgia when Georgia finally got the lead, and the next play they went deep with Milrow. And I love Milrow. That was he just punted that thing up there. It was not out in front, but the Georgia guys had no idea. But that guy caught it, spun, made a move, stopped. The guys ran into each other. Hit down. He was even adjusting his mouthpiece when he was on the 5-yard line. The dude is crazy good. And so I'm from that, and Milrow's got a little more. I'm picking Alabama, but you're right. Weird things, bad fumbles, bad kicking games, a pick six or something like that. Could either one of these teams gets involved in that stuff, and it could get ugly for that team. So it comes down to the intangibles, execution.
People have been able to run the ball against Alabama. I mean, let's look at the Vanderbilt game. I mean, they basically, Alabama's offense was definitely going to keep them in that game, and it looked like at one point, they're even going to come back and win it. But
right.
They ran the ball between the tackles and just killed Alabama. Well,
yeah,
Tennessee runs the ball pretty well, so
Yep.
got that going on too. So
it's
different. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's different than the way Vandy ran it, but you're right. They did run it very well. But Vanderbilt's almost got that Army thing going on, like a military team, the way they're running that. But, man, that quarterback for them is nuts. So now we got
wing T kind of thing going on.
Yeah, throwback. Georgia, Texas. The villains against the convicts. I'm just kidding. But, this should be I don't know. I don't really see either one of these teams having crazy shutdown defenses, so I'm expecting a lot of scoring in this game.
I would think so. The biggest thing to my game, of course, Texas at home. In all these games that we talked about, I mean, automatically in college football, we already know this. You can give the home team a little bit of an edge, or give them a few points or whatever you want to call it, because it's just absolutely crazy in college football. So that's always worth something. So same thing here with Texas being at home, and then Georgia coming in. To me, all about Georgia, I think you're right. I mean, I see a high scoring game here. The thing about Georgia with Carson Beck is, how good a start does he get off to? I mean, he got off to a horrible start against Alabama, and he didn't get off to a great start. What was it, last week or week before, whenever I was watching. But then he seemed to come into his own and really get it going. And I don't think this is a game where he can come and get a slow start again. He's going to have to come out and be on it early. And like you said, it looks like what it would probably be a shootout. Georgia's defense certainly makes good adjustments. I think Kirby Smart is the reason for that. I mean, they're really good about making adjustments. You've seen that in a couple of games, the Alabama game and stuff like that. I mean, absolute shutdown after the second quarter. So that'll be another part of this game that'll be interesting. But yeah, this will be a heck of a game. Maybe much like the Oregon-Ohio State game, two big heavyweights slugging it out.
Oh yeah,
and and possibly, depending on how things play out, we could see them again. Maybe not in the SEC championship game, but in the playoffs, quite possibly. And that's the thing about you have the conference championships, and those teams are going to get a bye, and and that can certainly help because of injuries or some teams really prepare better than others do.
Sure.
So that can certainly come into play. But I was telling a guy earlier, I'm like, don't be surprised when the 8 or 9 seed, 10 seed possibly, is playing in the national championship. I mean, I would not be surprised at all with the way things are looking like they're going to play out. We don't know that for sure. Kind of getting ahead of ourselves. But I mean, it certainly looks like a Georgia, a Texas, somebody can sneak in there, Tennessee, Alabama, whoever it may be, and that can be a real dangerous team to play come playoff time.
Yeah, I caught a show about championship drive, I think they called it, and it was like Reese Davis, Joey Galloway, McElroy, and Heather Dittich. And they started off by saying, okay, this year, first year of the 12th team, and just for people who aren't up to date, let's run it down. There's 5 teams that the highest 5 ranked conference champions automatically get in. The top 4 of those highest rank are the ones that get a bye. The 5th one gets seeded. Where they get seeded, they don't automatically become the 5th. It's all where they're ranked compared to all the at-large.
Mm-hmm.
But the next 4 teams, as far as when they seed them, they get home games. And that could be really interesting because you're looking at potentially, if you just go up to the top of each of the conferences, if Texas wins the SEC, they get a bye. Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia. Imagine any of those teams having a home game. Tough places to play.
LSU, I mean,
LSU.
Penn
All
State,
those.
Penn
And
State,
then in the Big Ten, Penn
Oregon.
State, Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say Indiana, but I guess if they make it that far, that place will probably blow up.
Well,
but
yeah,
and then
out enough.
yeah, and then believe it or not, Colorado is still kind of in it as far as the Big 12 goes. Only got 1 loss, I think, in the Big 12 to K-State last week. 2 losses overall. That's kind of a tough place to play too. Those fans get nuts out there in Colorado. So these home games are going to be really interesting. They're almost all, I would imagine, in my opinion, they're going to end up being the top 4 teams runners up at the conference champions. I could be dead wrong, but that's the way I'm feeling about it. And then the rest of the teams in the back are going to be playing those teams, trying to upset somebody just to go to a bowl game against the top 4. So that's going to be crazy to watch over the next few weeks. Texas playing Georgia this week. They're going to lay it all out there. Sark is going to bring it. They're going to be ready. Next week, they travel to Vanderbilt. So next week, we're going to be talking about a potential letdown if Texas wins this game, going to Vanderbilt and having to defend the run like you're playing Army or Navy or something. So the next week's going to be pretty interesting. There's other games as well. But, Georgia, if they can find some defense like they've had in the past, which, and I'm not saying the players. Those players are all in the NFL, but they've been traditionally really good against the run, but not necessarily the last couple of years. But if they can stop the run and make them throw, I don't think that guarantees them a win because they can throw pretty good, but at least you can make them one-dimensional. I don't think you'll be able to take the pass away from Texas, so you might as well try to take the run away and take your chances of them making mistakes. But that's going to Austin. That's going to be a tough, crazy environment. When's the last time they had a night game in Austin you can think of? Off the top of my head, it was A&M, playing them or something, But, yeah, it's been a while when they've had a great night game in Texas, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and that's another team that's really interesting is Texas A&M. I mean, they are really rolling right now. I mean, they're going to have a lot to say about how this whole SEC thing plays out.
They're flying under the radar, so to speak. Their only 1 loss is to Notre Dame, which is putting together a nice season, and they end the season playing Texas. I'm not sure where that game is off the top of my head, if it's at Texas or A&M, but either way, that could end up being a game they play, and they play again the next week. You never know because they don't have any losses in the SEC, Texas or Texas A&M. So their only loss is Notre Dame. So yeah, A&M's flying under the radar, but that's a good football team, and that is another tough place to play. So Texas wins the SEC. Yeah. Now you got A&M hosting a game.
That's a crazy place. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, imagine when you get to these home games in the playoff, the team that's going to travel there is going to be from, who knows where. It's not going to be from the same conference. So you're looking at maybe another SEC team like an LSU, maybe it has to go to Penn State and play Penn State or something, something weird, just really nuts, but almost certainly those environments on those home games, it's hard to imagine them being anything other than just crazy because there's so many good teams. And when we just talked about, we named a number of them, and they all are crazy at night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the other games that, I mentioned to you just before we went on is Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. You got 5-1 Notre Dame at 4-2 Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech. Once again, that whole home field thing going on.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech's another team that, dangerous team. So that's another game that, to keep your eye on.
Yeah, earlier in the season, I might have been picking Georgia Tech because of the way they played coming out. Nobody really knew what Florida State was, and they beat them pretty good. in Dublin, and they rattled off a few wins. And now it looks like Notre Dame's playing much better since they lost to NIU. So that is going to be a really interesting game to watch to see if Notre Dame keep it rolling or if Georgia Tech's got something for them. And another team flying under the radar, although I don't know if they got a great win yet, is Clemson. They got pounded by Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
And then ever since then, they've just been blowing everybody up. But I don't know if they've played anybody super good like Miami. I don't know if they even play Miami this year unless it gets to the ACC championship game. So, but Clemson's going to be one, in the ACC is going to be fighting for it in the end. And did you see what Virginia Tech did last night?
I did.
Oh, my gosh. Boston College, I feel sorry for those boys.
Well, Clemson has Virginia. I mean, Virginia's look pretty good this year. I mean, they're 4-2 against 5-1 Clemson, and it's at Clemson. I don't think Clemson's going to have any issue with that. But yeah, that would certainly be one.
Right.
Who else was you saying running under the radar? What's the other team?
Definitely A&M. We talked about them.
Yeah, but you just mentioned somebody else.
Ew, yikes. Well, I definitely said A&M. Who else did I say?
Well, you said Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson. Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, everybody's kind of forgotten about them getting killed by Georgia, and they got killed by Georgia.
Oh, they got
But
destroyed.
they're if they played them again now, I don't know if the game would be the same way because it looks like Clemson's rolling and Georgia not playing bad or anything, but they're not killing everybody like they killed Clemson. So it makes you wonder if Clemson's figured something out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing about college football. We get used to seeing, they got this spread offense and these fantastic offensive coordinators have come in, even head coaches now. That great offensive minds to spread this thing out and this and that. And, it'll go, but you always hear the saying that championships are won by defense. So these teams that kind of slide in there and just keep getting it done, and can play some defense. I mean, Alabama was kind of one of those teams in the past. They weren't a team that went in there and blew everybody out.
Right.
But they played great defense. So, some of those teams that, you were just saying, don't score a whole lot of points and stuff like that. It's going to come down when it's all said and done of who can play defense and who can get those stops against, whether it's a team much like them or one of these high flying offensive juggernauts. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as under the radar, like we were saying, it's hard to say LSU is under the radar, but they're just kind of buried a little bit behind 3 or 4 other teams that just are catching more of the spotlight. But they're in it too, and they're going to be playing Alabama in a couple of weeks, I think. It's usually the second or third week in November or something. And then they're it's so that's the SEC is going to be the hardest one for me and probably most to really figure out because there's so many teams that are so good and a lot of them playing each other, and then when the ones that don't, that's where the tiebreakers come in and really interesting. But a lot of good teams. I mean, like we've talked about them each week. You go through them, Texas to Georgia to Alabama to Tennessee to A&M to LSU. That's 6 deep that are all quality teams. I think get to the playoff for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I might be missing one. I mean, if Vandy wins tomorrow, they're 5-2. I mean, they're one game from bowling, man. And they play Mizzou. I think they can beat Mizzou. Missouri's kind of not doing great this year.
Missouri's actually done pretty well this year. They
didn't they just lose?
I was looking at that earlier. Missouri. Well, they were.
I know A&M got them. I remember that.
Yeah.
At A&M, and I thought somebody else just.
Missouri is 5-1.
They've only lost 1 game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Missouri is 5-1. They got Auburn going to Missouri this week, but yeah, Missouri's number 19 and they're 5-1. So
technically, Missouri's in it. I mean, one loss in the SEC is in it. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
It's who you play and who they play and everything else. So yeah, you got to count them in there because they were a great team last year, and for some reason, I think they are kind of flying on the radar. The perception is they're not up there, but 1 loss, 19, they're definitely in there. So lots of good football.
Yeah, I mean, next week, when you were just talking about Missouri, next week, Missouri goes to Alabama.
Wow. They got to. So Alabama. I mean, what's the rest of this? What's their schedule look like? Moving on all the
Well,
all the
I
way
mean,
out. Alabama's.
I mean, they're in the thick of their schedule right now.
Yeah.
You know, they have, you know, of course, they got Tennessee. Then they have Missouri. They have, then they have a bye week. Then I think they have LSU. And they have Auburn coming up, which, you know, that's another one. You just never know what will happen there.
That's
Yeah.
They have the Iron Bowl. Do they have Texas? Is Texas on their schedule?
No,
Okay, so if they play, then they'll be in the championship game or the CFP.
right.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so they're kind of in the thick of it. I mean, and then after that, Alabama has Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I don't know how that. You know, I guess we'll know here in the next couple of weeks how we feel that'll play out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Oklahoma's not having one of their better seasons, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but,
so I mean, you know, yeah, it's kind of. I mean, they're in the thick of their schedule right now. I mean, the
Right.
whole SEC is really in the thick of their schedule now. So you know, usually they have a big matchup in that first week or two, and then you know it kind of plays out, and now all of a sudden, bam! You know, when it hits, you know,
Right.
it hits big time. You've seen that last week and this week, and in the coming weeks, that the SEC will be real interesting.
Oh yeah, it'll be every week. Who's LSU, Alabama, A&M, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia? Who they all playing? If some of each other or not, but
Oh yeah,
and some of the other teams, Missouri, Vandy, aren't easy outs, and we haven't even mentioned Ole Miss, which is
Well,
nuts.
you know,
But
they had.
I do think they are right below all those other teams. Honestly, you know, losing Kentucky,
that
not great.
the loss to LSU, and
right?
you know, I kind of watched it. They really should have won that game, I thought, but you know, that loss really really hurt Ole Miss. I think it's going to be hard for them to bounce back from that loss.
Oh, I
The way
agree.
their schedule is and stuff. So
Can you have their schedule in front of them? In front of you?
Ole Miss.
Because I was looking at this earlier, I think yesterday. I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not picking on Ole Miss. I'm just looking at because this is the Associated Press. This isn't the CFP or anything. They don't have the eye test at the AP.
Well, you know, this week Ole Miss and Ohio State have the bye,
Goodbye.
and then Ole Miss, Oklahoma comes to Ole Miss.
Well, look at the schedule they've already done. Can you see the teams they've already beat?
Yeah, Ole Miss at Arkansas, Georgia at Ole Miss.
No, yeah. I mean, they got a tough road. Can you see the
Yeah.
games they've already played this year on what you're looking at?
Yeah, we can go back and
Start at the top and read them off. It's like
let's see.
FAU or something or
Yeah, let's see here. Ole Miss had Furman.
Furman.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to mess with Furman. Ole Miss had Middle Tennessee State.
Uh-huh.
Ole Miss had Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Ole Miss had Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
Now they've had a rough way to go here. Let's see. Ole Miss had Kentucky. That was a
Lost.
loss.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. Ole Miss had South Carolina, which they
Should have
they-
lost, right?
Oh no, they killed.
They killed them.
South
Okay, they killed them.
Carolina.
Okay. So they killed South Carolina, which is
They
unranked,
had,
right?
yeah, in week 7, you had that was the Ole Miss
That's-
LSU game.
And they
So,
lost.
I mean, yeah, and they lost. So I mean, they haven't really.
So does that resume look like the 19th team in the country? Because they're ranked 19.
Like I said, they when it all gets said and done, they won't be.
Oh, I know. The AP usually doesn't do that. I CFP, but eye test or whatever. But even I mean, if you take away the names, just look at the schedule and thinking, no, I don't know who they are, but they're definitely not ranked. And then they're 19. I'm like, how is Ole Miss even ranked right now? No biggie, you know.
Right,
It is what it is.
It'll play itself out.
Oh yeah. But I definitely feel like out of all those teams we list out, they're right underneath them. Not that they can't win a game. I think they can, but it's hard to see them being able to beat all those teams. And they've already lost to one of them, LSU, and Kentucky wasn't even one of the ones on that list, and they lost to them too. So
No, they're going to have 3 or 4 losses.
yeah,
Easily.
Yep. I agree. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go so you can get to the grandkids and whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Hang on. Don't hang up when we're done. I want to say one thing to you off camera. All right.
Okay. All right.
So enjoy the football tonight. Some good ones on the night, and of course, all day tomorrow. And we'll be talking about it next Friday right here at the corner. So until then, we'll see you then.